we are going to dive into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I forgot to do this for the other ones, but this is what we do during the offseason. We go across the entire NFL, go into each team. We go over the 2024 season, go into the 2025 offseason, and then based off that information, we give our predictions for the 2025 football season. This team has never done well for us on YouTube once, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know why that is. But every single video we've ever posted, it literally gets 10 views.
And I feel like I say decently nice things about Baker Mayfield, and I feel like that would help, but maybe we have to just start talking shit on them.
Well, they're boring. I think that's really what it comes down to is I don't know many people who are searching to hear more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're a team who kind of is around the same team every single year. And yeah.
So their fan base is on the hot seat now.
Literally, they've been on the hot seat. Let's get into the 2024 season. They finished 10-7 first in the NFC South, and then they lost in the wild card round. I'm sure they'd love to have this game back. A loss to the Washington Commanders, 24-21. Great season for them, obviously. Something that really stuck out to me was how many injuries they had across this offensive, their offense in general, in their wide receiving room, their offensive line. And Baker Mayfield really elevated his play, kept the offense ticking the entire season. They finished 6th in offensive DVOA this past year. So yeah, shout out to them and shout out to Baker Mayfield for his career resurgence in Tampa Bay. And even when a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin went down, it felt like that offense still didn't skip a beat and were still dangerous through the air.
Yeah, they had like a rough little stretch going into their bye week. They lost 4 straight, but after their bye week, they absolutely cooked. They went 6-1 to finish the season, and we're absolutely rolling heading into the playoffs, but just came up short against obviously the NFC runner up, but
the team who was on the buzzsaw.
Yeah, but obviously since getting into Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield has played some really great football. And for him to be able to carry the team while those two guys were injured on the offensive side of the ball is very impressive.
Completely agree. Some key stats. I said it, offensive DVOA, they finished 6th in the league. Defensive DVOA, they finished 14th in the league. Points scored, they had 4th in points scored in the entire league, and then 16th in the league in points allowed. Felt like that sounds just about right. They played really well on offense, and their defense was like good enough. And they play in a weak division, so they can kind of get away with that a little bit. I'd like to probably see a little bit more out of this defense, especially with who Todd Bowles is. I think that is something that when I was preparing for this, I was like, well, Todd Bowles is gonna make that right. I think that this defense is something that takes a step up next year as well. So yeah, shout out to them. And then just some notable players, and then you can say what you need to say. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns, 71.4% completion percentage. Great year. Bucky Irving is a dog. He really stepped up. He showed that he's going to be good for like running backs aren't good for a really long time, but you could tell that going into this season, like Bucky's that guy, and he's going to go and dominate.
Juice.
So
he has
serious juice. So shout out Bucky Irving.
He really took over like the number 1 running back spot right out of Rachaad White's hands, basically, like that second half of the season. Like these were his numbers running down that last 7 games of the regular season. He had 88 rushing yards, 152, 117, 68, 113, and 89. So I know they weren't going against some of the best defenses, but he really turned it on.
And he's a threat in the pass game too.
Yeah, he's going to be a fantasy weapon moving forward. But aside from the fantasy part of it, he's just really fun to watch too whenever he gets the football.
Yeah. Some storylines that I want to go into this, and then if you have any other stats that you want to say, I think you could probably bounce off of this. But they had offensive excellence last season. The Buccaneers set the franchise record, become the first team in NFL history to have 70% pass completion rate and average over 5 yards per carry in rushing. Baker Mayfield and Bucky Irving, the two guys that we just talked about, they were clear difference makers for this offense last season.
Yeah, I love this offense. When everybody's healthy, it's so fun to watch. They have weapons like all over the field. Um, Bucky Irving and Rashad White, I love the running back combination of those guys. And then Mike Evans, and it's unfortunate what happened to Chris Godwin. But when he's out there, he's clearly a difference maker for this offense. And I'm really hoping that he's able to maintain some health moving forward. He's had some pretty unfortunate leg injuries, so I'm not like super hopeful, but whenever he's out there, he really makes a difference.
Definitely. Let's get in the 2025 offseason. Do you have the roster additions that they made this past season or this past offseason? Excuse me.
Yes. Do you want me to do additions or losses first?
Yeah, go losses and then go additions. My bad.
All right. So losses, I've got Robert Hainsey to the center to the Jags, Joe Tyrone Shoyinka edge to the Browns, Jordan Whitehead, Justin Skule to the Vikings, Tavier Thomas to the Vikings. Chase Edmonds was actually on the Bucs this season. KJ Britt, Mike Edwards, Royce Newman, um, Shaquille Barrett. That's
Our guy.
that's about it. Yeah.
Our guy. Yeah. I don't think there's any significant names that they went and lost this offseason, to be completely honest with you. So I don't think that there's much to go over there. Do you want to go over any additions that they made on this roster this offseason?
Yeah, if I missed any, let me know. But they added Hassan Reddick. They didn't really do a whole lot this offseason as far as bringing guys in, which like I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think we talked about it in the Steelers video, just sort of about like the cohesion, and I think that does play a pretty big role.
They're bringing
If you're able
everybody
to,
back on this offense. So
yeah, they're bringing a lot of guys back, and the guy that they did add that's going to be a pretty key player on offense, I think too, is um, I'll get to him once I get to the drafted players,
everybody
but
knows who you're talking about. But yeah,
yeah,
keep going.
correct. But yeah, they didn't really add a whole lot in free agency or trades. Hassan Reddick, Riley Dixon, Charlie Heck, and Kindle Vildor. And then the guys they drafted, obviously, who I'm referring to is Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. He's like all the rave in.
We've heard nothing but great things about
Yeah,
him. Like
from
even
everybody.
the thing that stuck out the most was just like when Baker, like unpromptu, was like getting interviewed, and he was like, "Yeah, Emeka Ibuka's really, really good, and like he's like the real deal." Like just completely unprompted, and it seems like everything's matching up with that. Really looking back on who Emeka Ibuka is, it's like he is the all-time leading receiver in Ohio State history, and obviously Ohio State is like Ohio is wide receiver university. How does somebody like that fall so deep into the draft? I get that he might not be like super exciting or whatever, but it feels like I feel like if you were to ask every single person who's going to be a good player in the NFL, it would be like Emeka Ibuka.
I think it's probably because like he's hit his ceiling as a wide receiver. Like I don't really know if he's gonna get like I don't know if there's a ton of room for growth, but where he's at right now is obviously good enough. He was the 19th overall pick in this year's draft. Like he's obviously really freaking good as it is. So like that's probably why, if I had to guess. But you also can't go wrong anytime you take an Ohio State wide receiver, and for him to fit into this offense where he doesn't have to be the number one right away, and then he gets to go play it with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and have Baker Mayfield slinging him the rock. Like I think that's a really great scenario, and I think I look at this similarly to another Ohio State wide receiver, um, Jackson Smith and Jigba, where he went into Seattle and he had Geno slinging him the rock. He didn't have to be the number one guy, but he was in a perfect spot to take over as wide receiver one um, in a couple of years after being drafted. And I think that Emeka is in that same exact spot.
I would have to completely agree with you on that one for sure.
I'll let me
Go
just
ahead.
finish this and then you can go. They also took Benjamin Morrison, corner out of Notre Dame, who I think he's going to be pretty good. That Notre Dame secondary was so nasty last year.
Agree with you.
Cornerback Jacob Parrish, linebacker David Walker, defensive end Elijah Roberts, and then wide receiver Tez Johnson in the 7th round, which that was crazy that he was a 7th round pick because he was also disgusting at Oregon, but just tested really poorly. He ran his like 3-cone drill as if he was like 330 pounds.
Yeah, and he's like, isn't he like 150 pounds?
Yeah, he's like 5'10", 150.
Interesting. So
figure
it out, Tez. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have much to say. That it's kind of the message when we were just talking about, like, when we started this, like, this team's a little boring. Like, they brought everyone back on offense and they added Emeka Egbuka, who like isn't isn't the pop guy, but is going to be really good. It's just like it's the culture in Tampa Bay a little bit. It feels like they're going to be a really good football team, obviously. And yeah, I mean, I like everything that they did this offseason. There's really no reason not to like what they did.
I have one thing that might be concerning. They lost their offensive coordinator who has drastically improved this offense. Since he took over. I think that's a reason for concern. Liam Cohen ventured over to Jacksonville. I think that's something just to keep an eye on. I think they still have weapons all over the place, but I really like the job that Liam Cohen did as his time as OC in Tampa Bay. And I think them losing him is going to be a decently.
You think it'll be felt?
I think it will be. Yeah, I really do. I think that he did a really good job crafting this offense after Canales left, and it showed. I mean, Baker Mayfield threw for how you read it off at the beginning of this,
4,500 yards.
Yeah, and this offense was great. And I think partially that's because of Liam Cohen. So I think that's something to consider when talking about the Buccaneers for this season. But when I say it'll be felt, I don't know if it'll be like drastic. Like they're not going to go win like 6 games. I think they're too talented for that. But just something to consider. I think that's going to be a bigger loss than some people think.
It's weird with this team because let's just get into it a little bit here. Like for the 2025 season, it's weird with this team because although like everybody really likes them to win this division, they only win like 10-ish, 9-ish games like every single year. So it's not like they're running away with it. So at a point, if somebody in this division could potentially take a step up, I don't think that it's really outlandish to say that this team could get dethroned, even though I like them. Like, I think that they could potentially win the division, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they could lose this division as well. It's not like they're going out and definitively blowing out this division, winning 11, 12 games or whatever that might be, or 13 games, 12, 13 games, and they kind of sit around that 500 mark. And that's why they even did that with Tom Brady, like, for example, like when he was there. It's just something to kind of note while like watching what's going on with this division. I don't think that, although they are extremely favored, well, odds to win the NFC South, what I'm looking at right here is plus 100. Is that correct?
What did I have? I had plus 105. So it's probably a few weeks ago.
So I just looked at that. It sounds like the books kind of agree with what I'm saying. Like it kind of backs up my point a little bit. They're obviously the favorite, but it wouldn't be shocking if somebody were to potentially dethrone them as well.
Yeah, I think that this division out of the Bucs, Falcons, and Panthers, like it feels like those teams are just a couple bounces away from being right up there as far as winning this division. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to take a step forward, and the Falcons win like 8 games every year. And if they get a bounce or two to go their way and they win 10, like
if they could just figure it out, like for once, like Jesus,
if they get a bounce here and there, like they could find themselves winning 10 games. And it realistically seems like 10 games is like what the winner of this division is going to come out with. It feels like it's been that for the last few years. Um, so I just like don't think that the gap between all three of these teams is like anything super substantial.
I would have to completely agree with you on that. And before we do predict what we're going on, just some Vegas win totals and some potential futures. Their win totals at 9.5. I'd probably lean under if I were to bet that. I wouldn't, but I would lean under. Odds to win the NFC South, like I said, plus 100. Odds to win the Super Bowl, plus 2,500. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that this is a Super Bowl contender personally, but I guess anything can happen. Key player odds: Baker Mayfield to win MVP plus 3,000, and then Bucky Irving to win Offensive Player of the Year plus 1,500. I mean, that's ridiculous. Is that right?
I think that. What did I have? I had Bucky Irving. I mean, this number has gone down significantly if you're looking at it right now. Or do you have it pulled up right now? Because I had it at plus 6,000 a few weeks ago.
What's it at?
Right now, it's at
plus 6,000 sounds way more appetizing than what I have.
I know, which is shit. Where is it? Great. This is great. I'm gonna find it. They put like okay. I have an issue here with FanDuel. They put way too many odds up for people to win awards.
Yeah. Well, people
like
are
why do we have Marshawn Lattimore to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 40,000 on here?
Because people are dumb and bet shit like that.
Okay. Yeah, Bucky Irving, Offensive Player of the Year is plus 6,000 still.
Okay, sorry for that. Then yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I would bet that plus 6,000. That's worth it.
I think that is also worth it. From like, again, this every team that we've talked about today. There's been one guy with like way higher odds to win something. Where if that team ends up winning like 10 games and that specific player ends up playing well, they make a very good case for themselves to win Offensive Player of the Year. Like Bucky Irving, if he ends up taking more of the snaps this season, like we all think that he will, he was insane in that stretch, that second half of the year. Now, counterpoint is he able to do that over a full season? We're going to find out, but he was really good. He was probably a top 5 running back the last half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We talked about it when we ranked our top 10 running back. That's a guy who, if you were to tell me that he broke into the top 7, it wouldn't shock me in any way, shape, or form. Like, could he have a season where he snaps on the ground and with catching the football? Like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he could. I mean, this is the most drastic, like extreme measure, but like he could have, if the Bucs offense is clicking, he could have a CMC type year.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to.
Say it.
I swear I was gonna say that. I was like, is that too aggressive? Like, I was thinking that though. Like, I why not? I guess is where my head's at. Like, maybe it's too aggressive, but
it's probably too aggressive. That's why I prefaced it with this is the extreme version. But like, even if you end up with like 85% of a CMC level MVP type year, like that's a pretty good year.
Yeah, I'm right with you on that for sure.
So yeah, I love that at plus 6,000. That's worth probably throwing a couple of dollars on. Like,
all right, let's get into the 2025 season predictions. This is boring. It is boring, but I have them winning the division still. Unfortunately, I didn't want to, but going over this, it feels like having everybody back on offense. I know that they don't have the OC, but they still have all the talent. I think they should be able to keep it figured out, but I only have them winning 9 games, 9-8. I still don't love the Falcons. I think the Falcons are just grossly incompetent, and until they fire Raheem Morris and Falconeau in the front office, I think that they're going to be that team who wins 7 games every single season and can't figure it out. Although I do love the Panthers and think they take a step forward, I don't know if they could potentially. Can they win 8-9 games? Sure, that's the team that I kind of see them competing with. And then the Saints are an absolute dumpster fire. So I think that sorry, I had to sneeze, that they should continue to win this game, this division. I stated it at the beginning a little bit. I think Todd Bowles gets this defense playing a little bit better than what they did last year. They were around league average. I think that they can kind of elevate that play a little bit more. I don't know how much, but just a little bit more and make a little bit more of an impact. And I still think this offense is going to be pretty decent, regardless of Tristan Wirfs missing a few games in the beginning of the year. I think that he'll come back and everything will be fine. And this is still a good offensive line unit as a whole. So, yeah, I think that the Bucs should be that team to be able to keep this division crown this year.
I really want to pick the Panthers or the Falcons
sure.
just out of parity. But I just don't think the Panthers are there quite yet. I think they're probably like 2 years away from being like, all right, or maybe even a year, but being like, all right, they could legitimately win. But the thing that I go back and forth with is like, there's always like 3 new teams that are going to be like kind of good. And like, maybe it's the Panthers, like maybe it's the Falcons. Like, could it be a team from like a division like this where the winner only wins 10 games and the 2 teams right behind them are 1 game away each? So
I said that.
Yeah,
I think that's like, what happens for sure.
That's where I'm at a standstill or like at a crossroads with, because what did the Panthers finish last year? Like 5-12, probably
7 wins.
7 wins. Like, they could have 2 games. They had 2 games that could have probably bounced their way, and they win 9 games. Like, they almost beat the Eagles
game. Yeah.
But then again, we have to ask: is Bryce Young going to be able to play at that level for a full year? Because he was bad at the beginning, and until he got benched is when things started to click for him. I just don't know about the Falcons. Like, there's so much uncertainty about some of these teams and whatnot, but I guess I'll stick with, yeah. I think just taking the best quarterback in the division too is always a safe bet. So
yeah, I think he's earned that.
Yeah, I'll stick with you too at 9-8 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I could see a scenario where there is a game where this week 18 Panthers Bucs game is for the division.
I hope so.
I'm putting that on record right now. Week 18 Panthers Bucs is for the Panthers or the Bucs to win the division. I'm stamping.
That would be awesome if that happened.
Yeah, so it would be sick. It'd be great for the sport, because that division's been so like wishy-washy kind of the last few years. So 9-8, week 18 versus Carolina, winner takes all, stamping it.
Nice. I love that. Perfect. Well, hey, great day today.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring it back, man, and take vision.